We are live at the 5th African Youths and Sustainable Development Roundtable. What a pleasure. 2018 was like yesterday. And if we are celebrating today as a UN 2022 ECOSOC Partnership Forum site event, I think that is some great stride for us to celebrate. We often say Africa's youths are our greatest assets, but it all depends on how we use them, and that will determine the dividends that we can reap from them. You are all welcome from Harare to Johannesburg, Freetown to Accra, Ouagadougou to Abuja, and from Yaoundé to Libreville. I welcome all of you to this wonderful event. And I will start by introducing myself. My name is Franco Bonghan, Executive Director of Bright Light Projects, and an astute African who's passionate about, the greatness within the African youth. My co-host, Lady Be Blessed, is the Executive Director of the Lady Be Blessed Humanitarian Foundation, Inc., an African sister who is very passionate about Africa from Trinidad and Tobago. We often say, wherever you've come from, so long as you are Black, you're an African. And that's why we have a diverse group today on this panel. It's our pleasure to have one of our panelists all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Please help me welcome Kareem Daniel Ryce. Kareem is enrolled at the Ubuntu United Nations Leaders Academy. A 29-year-old man, very passionate about youth advocacy, works at the Peace Abbey in Milis, grassroots online volunteer community. It's our honor to have you, Kareem, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. How are you feeling today, Kareem?
I'm feeling fine. I'd like to correct you, if I may. I don't work at the Peace Abbey, and I actually graduated from the Ubuntu leadership, leadership program. Yeah, I graduated, and I'm feeling amazing. Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, Kareem. All the way from Freetown in Sierra Leone, Mr. Samuel Laverse, DJ Laverse, a radio presenter and DJ working for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM in Sierra Leone. This is not the first time we are having you, DJ Laverse. It's always a pleasure. DJ Laverse has been working as a radio presenter for over 15 years and is hosting one of the most popular shows on Radio Democracy called Youth Then Voice. I have happened to listen to that program while I'm in Sierra Leone. Thank you, DJ Laverse. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, Franco. I'm feeling fine. I'm okay. And it's always a pleasure being part of this program and also a way to contribute for African youths. Wonderful, wonderful.
All the way from Accra, our lonely star princess on this platform, Elizabeth Ofori, passionate and energetic young lady. Wow, she is member of the Yali West Africa and Africa Alumni Networks. She loves people, she loves development, equity, social justice. Graduated from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and is the current president of Yali Alumni of Ghana. Elizabeth, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling super fired up and ready to go, Franco. Thank you for having me. I'm ready for an awesome and impactful engagement today.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so I guess our keynote speaker will only come after our first round of questions. But Mr. McKevin, we are glad you're here, but I will bring you in and introduce you after the first round of questions for as our keynote speaker. It's always a pleasure to have illustrious sons of Africa who have done more than the continent expect of them in the transformative process. And that's why we have you today, Mr. McKevin. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So we will dive straight. I don't know if Lady B Bless is able to join us back. Lady B Bless, are you with us?
She hasn't been able to join back.
Okay, wonderful. Our questions. Our first question. In the light of the facts that the COVID has pushed back the accomplishments of the Sustainable Development Goals about 3 years, as an African youth, what are your thoughts on building back better after the pandemic? So DJ Laverse, you know, the pandemic has brought so much untold sufferings to the masses in Africa, right? You know, we had made some gains before the pandemic, and it's true that the pandemic has significantly wiped out some of these gains, especially when it comes to measuring the impact of the Sustainable Development Goals. So what are your thoughts? How do you think, as a youth in Sierra Leone, what are some of the things that you think could be done, both from the government and private sector, in order that we can build back better?
Thank you very much, Franco. And I want to say thank you to all viewers all around the world and to my colleague panelists. I think one of the main things the pandemic has showed us is that we need to invest in our youths, because we all seen the damage the pandemic caused, and most affected, I believe, are the youths, because schools are closed. Most youths can't afford to go to continue their education, which I think is one big goal and one big thing that African youths need to empower themselves to get something that they could live on. And because of the pandemic, most youths couldn't afford to go out and do their normal thing. And I think this is a way to show governments and non-governmental organizations that we need to empower the youth, not only the formal education, but also on technical education, because most of the people, the formal schools, colleges, all those were closed because of the pandemic, and there was no development for youths in Africa. But if we have basic skills that youths learn, the closure of factories, the closure of big businesses, all that affects most of the youth in Africa. But if you have a better skill that you learn, for example, if we invest the youth to be in, say, fishing, say mining, say technical things, those things, they were not that affected by the pandemic. So this is one main thing that African leaders and countries to look at and say, now this is the time for us to invest in the youth so that they can be self-sustainable, because this is all about the SDGs, for people to be self-sustainable and to be able to live for themselves. And for the past 3 years, most of the youths have been deprived for so many things. And one important one is education. So I think my advice to governments and the United Nations is to make sure we double our efforts to make sure we empower the youth for them to be self-reliant.
Wonderful, Samuel Laverse, wonderful. We need to invest, if I hear you well, we need to invest more on technical education. We need to invest more on tertiary education, because during the lockdown, these are some of the skills that are necessary in order to drive that transformative process forward. Thank you so much, DJ Laverse. I'm gonna go back. Let me introduce my co-host, Lady B Bless, one of the most passionate Africans who live out of Africa that I've come to know in the past 15 years. Lady B Bless, we are already on question number 1. Let's have a word from you, and I'll continue with question number 1, and you'll pick up with question number 2.
Thank you so much. I don't know what happened. I don't know how much of my introduction was heard when I was introducing the round table. Was that able to be heard?
No, please go ahead and do it again. It was not heard.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll stay in this time. I think we had a glitch when they switched the program. Well, I wanted to welcome everyone to the 5th African Sustainable Development Roundtable. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lady Be Blessed. I'm the executive director of the Lady Be Blessed Humanitarian Foundation. We advocate for children, women, and youths in undeveloped and disadvantaged area. And also, okay, I keep getting pop-ups from Zoom. In 2018, the Bright Light Project, as well as the Lady Be Blessed Humanitarian Foundation, started the African Youth to Sustainable Development Roundtable discussions, not only to give youths a voice, but also to give them a seat at the table. Today, we know that 60% of Africa population is under the age of 25. This makes Africa one of the youngest continents. So African Youth to Sustainable Development discussion platform is for young African entrepreneurs on the diaspora, as well as the continent, to be able to come together to share their knowledge and opportunities, to collaborate on key economical and social issues, because we know these are the driving action that drives towards implementing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So it's our great honor right now to be part of this 2020 ECOSAH Partnership Forum under the United Nations, because when we started, it was just a humble beginning in Maryland in 2018. So you guys have already covered question number 1. I hope that all the panelists had an opportunity to speak. If not, I give the floor back to Franco.
Wonderful, Lady Be Blessed. Thank you for that intro. Let me go ahead and introduce our last panelist, Mr. Samhembere Takundzwapashe, all the way from Harare in Zimbabwe. Mr. Sam is a Sustainable Development Goals advocate in Zimbabwe. Sam believes that African countries have a huge role to play in developing themselves and do away with financial dependency. Mr. Sam, how are you feeling all the way from Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And I'm going back to question number 1. All the panelists will have an opportunity to answer question number 1. Thank you, DJ Laverse. Let's move to Accra, Elizabeth Ofori. So the impact of the pandemic has pushed back some of the gains on the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the key issues about the Sustainable Development Goals is the fact that it is even African countries are slow in implementing. It is even very difficult sometimes to measure the impact, but the pandemic has caused more troubles in this area. What do you think could be the best possible solutions? You see, because it's important. Each time we talk about the problems, I think in 2022, let's talk about some solutions. What do you think the government and the private sector could do in building back better after COVID-19?
Thank you, Franco. I agree with you that the pandemic has pushed our 2030 agenda efforts back by 3 years. But when we shift our perspective slightly, we can see that we have built more skills, strategies, and relationships in the years leading up to the pandemic, no matter how slow or small that was. And it's exciting to note that the pandemic did not take that from us. The pandemic hasn't taken the experience we built in this journey, the relationships and the partnerships we've garnered in this journey. And so one of the ways that I believe we can build back from this setback is to utilize the know-how, relationships that we have garnered to accelerate the work and get more accomplished in shorter times than we did before the pandemic. In the words of the proverbial wise man, it says that don't be afraid to start over again. This time, you are not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. So I suggest that we look for ways to consolidate our efforts. Instead of looking at how bad we've been set back, we can look at where we were before the pandemic and build on from there through consolidated efforts so that we leave the pockets of activities. Someone is doing this, doing another thing, bring them up. Let's hold hands and let's together. That way we can move farther and faster than we did before the pandemic and cover the years that the pandemic took from us. Thank you.
Wonderful. So Elizabeth, when you talk about collaboration, are you talking in terms of infrastructure? Are you talking in terms of building job hubs for the youths? Are you talking in terms of increasing social services?
I'm talking in terms of all the dynamics you've mentioned, because it is not just one thing that is going to move us forward. Progress and development is a cocktail of many things. It is not just infrastructure. It is not just jobs for the youth. It is about citizens who are responsible, citizens that know their rights and have the responsibility and do them as well. Because we need to be able to understand that one person or one group of people cannot do this. So whoever is putting together that infrastructure, young people starting businesses, global bodies providing finance, we all need to come together. The solutions must come down to the grassroots and not remain at the top level. And that link has to be created. That is what I'm saying.
Wonderful, Elizabeth. Thank you so much, all the way from Accra.
Yes, let me just point out, I like the fact that you pointed out that it has to start at the grassroots level. It has to start locally, right there where you live in your own community, and then it pans out. Thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth.
Wonderful, because Lady B, one of the challenges about the Sustainable Development Goals, one of the criticisms is that it is not localized. So until we localize the SDGs, we will not see its effect, because development has a trickle down effect. It's from down to up and not from up to down. Thank you. Mr. Kareem Ryce, in Trinidad and Tobago, what do you think could be some of the key economic transformative processes if we are to build back better from the COVID-19?
Hey everyone, thank you for acknowledging me there. I think building back better, we need to establish the fact that perhaps things weren't good from the get-go. And I think that whilst communicating with the grassroots, is not wrong, they will be able to better formulate solutions because they live it. Yeah, I think building back better means ensuring that communication is at the forefront of change, or the forefront of real decisions that have to be made in order to impact the lives of the youths who are going to be carrying the flame later on. So in my country, as it relates to the SDGs, I think that communicating about the SDGs can be enhanced, and social entrepreneurship can be pushed in order to create a foundation of new thinkers. Yeah?
Wonderful, wonderful. Social entrepreneurship, communication are the key drivers if we've talked about building back better after the pandemic from the Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, Mr. Kareem. Mr. Sam, in Harare, what do you think Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of Africa? Mm-hmm. What do you think could be some of the main economic drivers if we are serious about building back better from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you very much. Looking at the context of Zimbabwe, we are looking at a country diverse and rich in terms of climate, in terms of the natural resources. So it is very important for us to understand that since Zimbabwe was once a breadbasket of Africa, we have a long way to go to come back to that stage. But I think the most important things that we can do as a nation and Africa per se is for us make sure that we put more investment in agricultural mechanisms so that at least we can increase the criteria of how we can make sure that our food systems are better and sustainable enough to feed the population that is ever growing. And we also have to make sure that we put employment and entrepreneurship skills at a higher level. So we're talking about high intensity in innovativeness and creativeness as a nation. And we also have to make sure that we look at the major population that happens to be the youth of the country, to make sure that we make them sure they're involved, they engage and participate in things to do with the economic development of the nation. Because at the end, what we are driving forward to is sustainability. We want a criteria whereby young people become the leaders of the economy, not as a future generation, because the future should start now. We have to come out of that narrative whereby we say young people are the leaders of tomorrow. No, we are the leaders of today. And by being leaders of today, we have to lead at the forefront in the political, economic, and social spheres of our lives, so that at least our country can go back to the same old Zimbabwe, which was known by the whole of the world as the breadbasket of Africa. So we have to invest and put more mechanisms into the agricultural sector, as well as the food systems of our nation.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And just to say something here, Mr. Sam, the land reforms by the former late President Robert Mugabe, well, so far, do you think those reforms have been beneficial, to the local people in the village when it comes to agricultural production?
Thank you for that question. The land reform program has been an internal blessing to the people of Zimbabwe. I have to be honest with you, but externally people might see it as otherwise. But it has made people of Zimbabwe to be more economically empowered, socially empowered, and people of Zimbabwe have realized the importance of the land reform program, because us as Zimbabweans, we know what it means to own land. We know what it means to have a piece of income from your own spheres. So we are saying as Zimbabweans, people are doing what they can. People are planting diverse crops so that at least they can sustain their families. But when the issue or the news is outside of the country, it is seeming as if it was not a good thing. Because remember, Zimbabwe is a huge population, and the Black community should really benefit from their own resources. So it's a matter of the external forces trying to give a bad picture towards the issues to do with Zimbabwe and the land reform program. But I have to be honest with you, even now we are benefiting from the land reform program, and it's a blessing to us as a nation. It's a blessing to us as Zimbabweans, although we cannot say there's some contextual feelings whereby we're saying the people who were once involved in those lands still want the lands. And of course, they will always have a negative impact and a negative drive towards the issues of land reform program. But to us as Zimbabweans, I have to say it's working, and it's a stepping stone for us as Zimbabweans to realize the importance of having a permanent field to do whatever you wish to do without the hassle of or the movement of other people.
Wonderful perspective. Wonderful perspective. It's always good to hear, from people who are on the ground. If you're tuning in, we are live at the 5th edition of the African Youths and Sustainable Development Roundtable. This is our United Nations 2022 ECOSOC Partnership Forum official site event. Right now, I move to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Mr. McKevin Ayaba, founder of the Southern Africa Startup Awards and CEO of Set Up a Startup. McKevin is a professional IT engineer who turned entrepreneur and philanthropist. He is a visionary ecosystem builder, a catalyst for Africa's economic development, innovation economic strategist, international speaker, startup George, advocate for inclusion and diversity. He has been cited on 2019 Africa's most influential 500 personalities. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Johannesburg, help me welcome one of Africa's most illustrious sons, most dynamic sons, most innovative sons to brace this event today. Mr. McKevin, it's our multiple honor to have you.
You have to unmute your mic, sir.
Yeah, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Wonderful.
A lot of accolades there.
I know you're very excited.
I'm very excited. I mean, when I got the invitation to speak at this event, it was just something beyond my imagination. It's just the UN Sustainable Development Goals program. They've been doing an amazing work within the space to create opportunity, to create employment for the youth. So it's always an honor to speak on occasions like this. So thank you to the organizers, Lady B, thank you, Franco, Bonghan, thank you so very much for having me. To all the listeners, to all the panelists, my co-panelists, thank you so much. You guys have spoken a lot. I mean, you've said so much that we all needed to hear. If the youths are out there, if the entrepreneurs are out there, if there are aspiring entrepreneurs out there, then this is their moment. This is what they need to, this is a space where they belong. I'm sure that within your various countries and your communities, you must have been doing an incredible and amazing work. And we need to continue to do that with people like Franco, with people that there is be coming with such event and opportunity. This is just a way to support them and make sure that a lot of youth get this information across. You know, lack of employment opportunities is a serious concern all over the world, but the situation in Africa has been considerably worse. With over 140 million unemployed youth between 15 and 35 years of age, it is no wonder African industries and economies, you know, are in worse shape than they were a few decades ago. According to the World Bank, Africa poised for the first recession in 25 years due to the COVID pandemics. Rapidly changing economy and inequality were persistent issues before this unprecedented economic crisis and worldwide pandemic. We know communities are hurting and struggling due to this pandemic. What was lacking before is now amplified tenfold, and the need for action is blindly present. With an uncertain future, we must push forward and start toward recovery, an equal playing field, that's key. To create new jobs, build resistant local economies, excuse me, and include more people in the economy, we must reverse unfair policies and trends in communities nationwide. We do not act quickly and intelligently for entrepreneurs in the coming months or years. Our economy, if ever does recover, will be more exclusive and truly feel like a winner-takes-all scenario. Inclusive and fully inclusive is the key for this in this conversation. I think a lot of people have been excluded, especially women, when we come to entrepreneurship, when we come to development in the entrepreneurship ecosystem or in the startup ecosystem. But here are some of the solutions. To address youth unemployment, we need to shift youth effort from seeking jobs to creating marketable opportunities for themselves. The key word here is marketable opportunities for themselves. Solution number 2, integrating entrepreneurship and innovation into education is key. My fellow brother earlier on, DJ earlier on said, entrepreneurship education is key, especially as we look forward towards 2030 UN development goals to achieve them. Not only that, but beyond. There is no denying there's an overwhelming need to shift youth effort from seeking conventional employment to create marketable opportunities for themselves. By integrating entrepreneurship and innovation in the school curriculum, African states can give the youth the support needed to create market employment opportunities. This would help reduce the rate of unemployment among the youth, which I'm sure anybody who knows Kenya, I spoke earlier on to Lady B, we did mention Kenya and Nigeria are growing extensively, which in Kenya has been steadily increasing. Youth should be encouraged to think about what society needs, create product for that need, and effectively market it. As the job market is limited, as youth are flocking to already saturated urban centers, youth should be encouraged to create their own entrepreneurship opportunities instead. I think that's the job of what our organization, Set Up Startup, has been focusing on beyond from in South Africa and beyond. This is why our approach is to work directly with the government and put innovation and 4R skills in the school curriculum. Doing that, we have created a program that can actually be utilized in universities, colleges, and other institutions, incubator acceleration. Most youth need more mentors than ever. Now, more than ever, we do need entrepreneurs, and we do need to focus with the youth. There are so many youth with great ideas, great businesses, but they do not understand how they can take these businesses to the next level. But we do understand from a startup perspective that there's so much fear in the youth as well. So we're going to be addressing 3 things here, which is something that we do address. With Africa being one of those countries that a lot of the world look at it as the most poorest continent in the world, with all the resources that we need, we strongly believe that we have so much in our power as youth. We've seen in the last year, just last year alone, we have almost $5 billion US that flow into the startup ecosystem in Africa. It shows that we have solutions. We have so many problems, but we also have solutions to this problem, which the West does not have, which it doesn't have. So it is to our advantage as youth. It is to our advantage as ecosystem builder. It is to our advantage to you, Frank and Lady B, to make sure that we encourage our youth into start developing, into start coming up with solutions to this problem. Technology is at our doorstep, whether we like it or not. Entrepreneurship is the only way. Is the only way that Africa can come out of poverty. With the technology is all over the place. In Africa, we're embracing the digital space right now. The 4R is out there. With so many problems, we are urging the youth to use technology as an enabler. Before, the internet was the key issue. But right now, it is not. This internet is everywhere. Anyone can just use internet anywhere. The only greater thing is that you need to start thinking. You need to start thinking out of the box. That's why entrepreneurship education is key. I always say that entrepreneurship education should be the basic human right. The basic human right of all African youth. Because if we institute that, if we push that, if we push that into colleges, into university, into institutions, if we push university to start creating incubators, accelerator, if we start creating, if we force corporate to start adding all this value and partnering and connecting with young entrepreneurs, we strongly believe that in the next 10, 20 years, Africa will never be the same. Research has found that exposure into innovation has a significant effect, not just on the kinds of innovation youngsters pursue, but also on their likelihood of becoming innovators. In order to achieve the SDG 4, which is quality education, and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, we need to focus on ensuring education leads to better opportunities and outcomes. And hence, that's why I was so honored to be part of this event, because as the UN has actually put in all these measures in place. It is for people like you, myself, and all my fellow panelists to make sure that we support these entrepreneurs to the core. One of the key challenges also entrepreneurs first is, which we need to be honest with ourselves in Africa, is that we have a fragmented ecosystem. Everywhere, information is so dispersed, information is everywhere. It's difficult for young entrepreneurs to find information in one place. We need to start practicing collaboration. We need to practice partnership. We need to start making sure that we map our ecosystem. And this is the job of ecosystem builder. We need to make sure that we put resources in one place so that entrepreneurs will make it easier for entrepreneurs to access. So today, I was pushing back to each and everyone, to all the government, to all the funders, to all the supporters who are supporting entrepreneurs, to look forward to Africa and make sure that we support the youth as the goals, as the push into making Africa better. I think from us as an organization, we've been doing that. The last 5 years, Startup have been pushing beyond the movie, organizing events and creating programs. We've supported many entrepreneurs. We've connected them to a lot of opportunity through our activities. Most have raised funds. Some are still growing. We continue with mentorship program through our IRP program that we've launched. So we urge other organizations as well as the UN Sustainability Goals program to support individuals like us, to support people that are supporting entrepreneurs because they face challenges as well. Because without them, without mentors, without coaches, without advisors, there is no way we're going to build a strong entrepreneurial or startup ecosystem across Africa. And we can only do that through the support of organizations like this, or we can only do that through platforms like this. Once again, I thank my fellow panelists, I thank the organizers, I thank all the viewers who are here today, and to all the entrepreneurs, the aspiring entrepreneurs that are out there. This is your moment. Africa is now. It's better. You will never have any other chance of being an entrepreneur like now. Just that, the advice I would give you is that start fast and fail fast and wake up and dust yourself and start again. This time you'll be better, like my sister from Ghana said earlier. Otherwise, thank you so very much for having me. I look forward to continue this conversation with you.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank
wow.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayaba. Mr. Ayaba, there's some things you said. I want us to have a take-home message from you. Number one, you talked about shifting from seeking conventional education to marketable opportunities. Right. That is very important. DJ Lava had touched on that when he talked about shifting our curriculum to include technical and tertiary and vocational education. You hit on that. And again, the last thing you said, Mr. Ayaba, that I noted, you talked about entrepreneurship education should be a basic human right principle for all of African youths. Yes. That was a big message for us to take home. Yes. I pass it over to Lady B Bless for question number 2. If you are tuning in, we are live at the 5th African Youths and Sustainable Development Roundtable.
Thank you, Franco.
Wonderful.
I'm so excited. That talk just really got me fired up.
Let's go.
I'm so fired up because it's what I've been preaching. It's what I'm saying always to my core, that entrepreneurship for the youths is the way forward.
Yes.
It is absolutely no short stepping for the youths. This is the way forward for the African youths, not only on the continent, but also in the diaspora.
Exactly.
That's why I'm happy that we have diasporans here. That's why I'm happy that we have Trinidad and Tobago, because the Caribbean also are considered part of the African youths. So wonderful. Entrepreneurship is the key forward. And thank you so much for bringing that point home and hitting that nail on the head with that very big hammer that you just used with your talk. So I really, really appreciate it. And the second question, this leads directly into it. Youth unemployment in sub-Saharan Africa is at 60%. So COVID-19, no doubt, exacerbated the issue. Many companies have paused the hiring process due to the limited resources. Finding good quality jobs is very hard. It has become harder and harder. So moving forward, for my panelists, do you think the recovery process is solely dependent on the government? It's not a trick question, but do you think that the recovery process is solely dependent on the government? So my panelists, anyone feel free to jump in and start the discussion.
Oh, let me jump in a little bit. I want DJ Lava to start that question.
Go ahead.
Yes, and exactly, I was just about to say, I would like to start. And first of all, I want to say a big thank you to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ayaba. I'm so touched with your message that you've given. And I'm coming to our question. There are certain things that you already mentioned, which for me, I was already giving what I want to say. We don't need to solely depend on government. And this is what most of the things you said on your speak. We need to think what society needs. And if we think what society needs as youth, then what we have to do as youth is to create and build businesses around those needs of people. And governments can't do that for us as youths. We have to do it for ourselves. We have to watch our community and think what community needs. And that's come about the technology. And like, for example, we're all talking about ventilating machine during the COVID. We have to wait. Africa has to, most countries have to wait all the way. They have to send it from foreign countries. But if we have used technology and we the youths have developed that, these are things that we need in hospitals. They would have formed themselves into research teams and see how best they can develop these things here. Yeah, we can think of what society needs and we build on the solution. I think what we need from government is just the support, and also to make a safe space for us to able to achieve what we want to do. And definitely, we the youth, we know our problems, but we are always sitting down for other people to come and solve our problems, and it can't work that way. I know what I want, Lady Be Blessed know what you want, my colleague, so nobody can come and tell me what I want or what I need. So as a youth generally, we know our problems. So we need to come up with our problems and solution. Then we can call on others, the government, other organizations to help us make sure we solve our problems. And today I'm going to keep my discussion very short. But the main key thing here is we the youths, we know our problems. We need to find the solutions. We don't need to depend on governments or organizations to give us the solutions. We need to call to them to just give us the opportunity and support for us to solve our problems. And I want to go back to our keynote speaker address. We need to think what society needs as youths, and also create and build businesses around those needs. And then now we can go out to governments and other organizations to help us and give us the free space for us to solve those issues. I thank you.
Thank you so much, DJ Laverse, for that. You're absolutely right. You made some very, very, very interesting point. I'm so interested to hear from Ghana on this subject.
Thank you so much. While I do agree with my colleague DJ Laverse on this subject, I would like to look at it from a different perspective. I'll use Ghana as a case study. In Ghana, each year, over 50,000 jobs are created by young people. In the first year, 50% of them die out. In the second year, another 20% joins. Before the fifth year of the start of those businesses, more than 70% of them would have collapsed. Why? Systems that do not function. Whilst the government is not responsible solely for solving our problems, we cannot trivialize the role that government plays in solving problems of the society. If I know a youth that is passionate, it is the African youth. If I know working, it's the African youth. If I know a youth that is so connected to its people, it is the African youth. You can create jobs, create opportunities for yourself, but if the system is stifling, it will kill you. And that is the role that our government needs to play in progress and development of nations. Let me make this analogy. The government is like, I'll take a vehicle and let's call that vehicle progress and development. Every vehicle has the body, it's got parts, it's got fuel and engine. These three things combine to move the vehicle. I have seen a vehicle that has 40 bodies or no body at all moving because there's an engine and fuel. I have seen vehicles that have no fuel but able to move mechanically. But I have never seen any vehicle, or in this case, any machine that move without an engine. The government is like the engine of every moving machine. It is vital to the growth and progress of that vehicle. There are so many young people starting jobs, building businesses. Here in Ghana, transportation is expensive. Living in Ghana is expensive. Young businesses cannot even afford tax rates. We have e-levies that are being debated in parliament right now. For every e-transaction you make, you are going to pay a 1.7% of that transaction. How many young businesses can survive such policies? The policies that we require for our businesses, our initiatives, our innovations to thrive on, they are not in existence in Africa. So forgive me if I am not berating the African youth for not being industrious or creating jobs for themselves. I will put some of that blame on the government and people in leadership authority, putting policies that do not help the citizenry make progress. And so I think it is a joint effort. Whilst youth are focused on creating opportunities for themselves, the leaders and people in power and in government must make sure that they are creating policies which will cause an enabling environment for those innovations to drive. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Absolutely right. It is a joint effort. Go ahead, Franco.
Yeah. Before Franco come in, sorry, Elizabeth, I understand everything you say. And during my submission, I made mention on one thing, that the government, they need to provide the support and safe space. So coming to what you're saying, you're blaming the government or they are the pivotal role to play. That's why I mentioned they need to provide the support and the safe space. Like you rightfully said, if there's no support from the government, no matter what innovation, no matter what thing the youth do, we can't be able to do. Like, for example, if you go to education, you learn, for example, a lawyer, you learn all the laws in the world. If you don't have a courthouse to go and practice your law, it means nothing. So just to support you, I'm not going against that. We don't need the government. What they need to do for us is to just to provide, give us the support and then the safe space. Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree with your point. I just also made my submission. So this isn't a debate. Yeah, 100%.
I'd also like to...
Wonderful. From Freetown to Accra, this has been a wonderful debate. And Elizabeth, every opinion is duly respected and duly appreciated, right? You know, when we talk about the point of the government's own responsibility, it is true, by default, the government has to create the enabling environment through which startups can survive. Do not also ignore that our governments too are what we call the aid-dependent governments. We do not have the internal infrastructure that, you know, can build our GDP from scratch. Imagine last year in Kenya, about 35% of the GDP came from remittances, right? So when COVID hit, it was a big problem in Africa too, because remittances was greatly affected because most of the Africans who were in the diaspora could not go to work, right? So, and Africa is dealing with its own debt problems. Most African countries are now calling on the IMF and the World Bank, you know, to review that debts in line of the COVID-19. So at the end of the day, I think it still comes down to our personal ingenuity as a youth. What can you do? Thank you.
What can you do as a youth? It is 1:50, which means we will be cutting off from the UN ECOSOC Partnership Forum Network. However, we will continue this discussion on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/AYSD Roundtable. That's African Youth and Sustainable Development Roundtable. On Facebook, we are live. As of now, I think we are being cut off from the UN Sustainable ECOSOC system, and it was our pleasure to be part of the discussion while on their platform. But we will continue now on Facebook Live.
Wonderful. So go ahead, Lady B, with the rest of the questions for Mr. Ryce.
No, we still have Kareem and Sam.
Yes.
I'm going to call you Sam from Zimbabwe because the name is a tongue twister. So we have Kareem and Sam for this question. If you guys need me to repeat it, I could. but Kareem, you need me to repeat it?
Yes, I do.
Right, we were talking about the 85%, youth employment in Sub-Saharan Africa is at 60%, and COVID-19 has exacerbated the issue because a lot of companies have paused the hiring process because of limited resources. So finding good quality jobs among the youth is very, very hard. It's become very difficult in these times. So moving forward, do you think that the recovery process is solely dependent on the government? Thank you.
I don't think it would be solely dependent on the government. I'm one of those persons who believe that you need to understand how things work around you in order for you to help yourself. And I agree more so with what DJ Lawa was saying earlier on. And to some extent, the comparison or the contribution that Miss Elizabeth from Ghana had suggested in terms of the government being able to facilitate persons who, or facilitate that support in order to prevent the system from collapsing. Whilst my colleague was speaking, I was thinking to myself, why can't the genius minds of the youth be able to look for the educated persons who may have perhaps decided to venture into that conventional way of education? These persons who would have been educating themselves on how the system actually works, why can't the entrepreneurs seek these people out and use them as a human resource versus going to governments to get the same resource from persons who may perhaps have studied what the youths are studying now? So it's like tapping into the genius, young, fresh minds of the youths who would be studying how to design systems and build stuff, in order to be reliant on that database of youths who would not be pigeonholed into philosophies or constitutions that could be preventing them from flexing their entrepreneurial muscle and helping grow that entrepreneurial mindset that is unbounded or out of the box thinking and communicating. Why can't it be communication amongst the youths on the ground who will solve the problems versus, all right, we have this brilliant idea and let's go to a government agency with this brilliant idea, and somewhere along the line that brilliant idea loses its purity or evaporates and nothing comes out of it, when we can tap into the heart and soul of the youth who would be able to find the way out. Yeah, so I lean more towards what DJ Lawa was saying just now there. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and that's my contribution with regards to solving the problems. I don't believe persons should be solely dependent on the governments for anything. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kareem. Thank you so much for that. What I got from your submission is that it's more of a collaboration. Everyone wants to start their own business, but if the youth get together as a group or a collective, it will be easier for them to start the business and break down a lot more barrier. And I like that because like Franco and I, we work together. I couldn't do this alone. He couldn't do it alone, but coming together and working together, we're able to bring our resources together and have a better outcome. So thank you so much for that, if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly. So Sam from Zimbabwe, are you there? We don't see your lovely face. We just see our lovely background. Are you with us? If you are, unmute your mic. There you go, your submission.
Okay, thank you. It's very unfortunate that I'm facing some power challenges. It's Africa, of course, but we love it anyway. So when it comes to the issue to do with the government and its impact in terms of the development of us as African nations and the issue to do with employment, we don't work in silos. As a nation or as a continent, it's high time that we understand the importance of partnerships. We are talking of sustainable development goals right here. Sustainable Development Goal number 17 talks of partnerships. So if we are advocates or ambassadors for SDGs, why then are we talking of the government having to do everything alone? Then we are not doing the SDGs. So as long as we are doing the SDGs, it's high time we understand the value of partnerships. We collaborate and partner with government. And we are talking of the civic society organizations. We're talking of youth organizations, non-governmental organizations. We also have to understand the role of the church. The church constitutes a huge population. And when we talk of the demographic dividend, we're looking at young people constituting a lot of population, the women. So what we need is a collaborative effort from the government to the citizens, so that at least we come up with something that is very innovative for us as young people to be involved in these issues to do with development. And when we're talking of development, it's also good for us to understand that the government mainly focuses on economic growth, and economic growth focuses on the national output. But when it comes to the economic development that is entrusted by the Sustainable Development Goals, we're looking at development that is entrusted from livelihood. So if we combine the livelihoods and the economic growth of the national output, we're going to come up with something, but it happens with a collaborative effort from the government, from us as citizens, from the young people, so that at least we can try to come with a different paradigm of development. We are talking of the importance of having employment. We need us as young people to start generating projects that are more sustainable. And those projects need us as young people, not the government alone, because the government as a stakeholder doesn't have every funding. In terms of talking of us, borrowing money from the IMF, the World Bank. So which means already that the government is incapacitated to focus on each and every individual or the whole population of the nation. So we have to come up with mechanisms that make us develop our nations step by step and understand the importance of collaborative efforts. It's high time we understand that we're not fighting the government, but we're trying to complement the government efforts through its available ministries, so that at least the sustainability part can be seen. We are also talking of Sustainable Development Goal number 16 that talks of peace, justice, and strong institutions. Strong institutions include the government, include the private sector. So we need to understand the whole vibe within that contrary atmosphere. As long as we partner each other and not compete with each other, that's when we can realize that issues of employment can be done. Like here in Zimbabwe, we're talking of youth empowerment, whereby we're saying through the land reform program that we're even talking earlier, we are seeing young people now owning mines, young people owning land. It all goes back with the communication that we share with the government. That is, young people, we need to be empowered. But we cannot do that alone without engaging the government. So at the end, it's an issue of us collaborating, making a good engagement, a good effort to understand the value of the government. Because as long as we fight the government, we're not going to do anything. So in conclusion, I just want to urge us as the African youth that as much as employment is a problem, we can also be the solution to that problem by engaging and, trying to come up with innovative ideas, being creative. When we're talking of the creatives, we're looking at a situation whereby we have young people in the arts, the creative industry, doing a lot to make sure that the awareness of the SDGs is being seen. How can they do that? We are looking at a scenario now whereby we are minimizing costs, but reaching a wider audience. So it is very important for us to believe that with proper engagement, proper communication, proper strategic planning, and also having monitoring and evaluation projects, we can come up to a very, very united upfront where the government, the youth, the women, and we should also realize that we have people with disabilities in the context. They also need us to be part of these SDGs, because we are saying leave no one behind as the mantra of the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you don't want to leave anyone behind, we need to collaborate with each and every entity that comes within the systems of humanity. Thank you.
Wonderful, Sam. Wonderful, Sam. That's a great input. Collaboration across every platform, private and public sector. SDGs always take into context the role of the disabled if we are to achieve true transformative growth. Mr. Ayaba, please, your hand is up. We give you the floor.
Thank you so very much, my fellow panelists. I know I was just a keynote, but I think it was really important for me to step up and just contribute to this part of the government. I agree completely with DJ. I agree completely with the rest of the panelists. My friend from Elizabeth from Ghana. The truth is, entrepreneurship is already difficult as it is. It's already a very difficult journey, and it is our job. Like I said, I keep mentioning the ecosystem builders. People like you, Franco, Lady, and everyone else who is up here is what we call an ecosystem builder. It's already difficult as it is. It is our, but the government needs to at least step up. And the only, I think for me, the only place where I need the government to step up is from a policy perspective. I just started travel to Ghana. It cost me an arm and a leg. It was. I have never in my wildest dream spent so much money just to leave Johannesburg and go to Ghana and then come back. It is spending more than money that I can spend and do a whole tour of Europe and come back to Africa. Yeah. That is something that we need to start looking. Those are the kind of policies we're looking at. Another thing from a government perspective, we look at, we've seen Kenya, we've seen other Africa where investment is flowing from Europe and Asia and Europe and the US to this continent. With that, these young entrepreneurs are struggling. At the end of the day, all this investment, we do not own our IPs. They don't own their IPs. Because why? We do not have the right policies in place. It makes people, the startups, they struggle, they come up with this sleepless night, develop something, and then they do not have that kind of support that they need. Now it costs us to go across the border just to get sponsors or just to get funding. And then with this funding, we lose our IP and get peanut. And this, we are talking about African solutions, where people are investing for African and African solutions. And very soon, these guys will lose everything that they have. So policies are key. If you look at Rwanda, Rwanda is when it comes to innovation across Africa, Rwanda is doing an amazing work. We understand the government has jumped in with everything to say, you know what, innovation is the way to go. Entrepreneurship is the way to go. They are working on a startup visa right now for entrepreneurs. These are just simple things that government could look at. I mean, we ran an event, an award, just for us to bring startup across 15 SADC countries. They had to struggle just to get into South Africa. But we are talking about young entrepreneurs. We are talking about people who need to connect and go across from one country to another. The African Free Trade Union, I haven't seen the impact yet. I don't know when that impact is going to work, because I think that one of the things that they needed to start with is to make sure young entrepreneurs have an opportunity to travel from one country to another as cheaply as possible as it can. We need to start talking. The government is start having conversation with transportation, with logistics, in a way that if this is if startup going for a summit or a convention or anything, we need to work on those things. These are critical. We need to create a conducive, like my brother DJ said, a conducive environment for young entrepreneurs. And but another thing is ecosystem builders like you and I, my fellow panelists, those are out there. It is our job to hold the government accountable. Startups, they cannot be focusing on the solutions that we need, and they're focusing on policies, and they're focusing on resources that they need. It is our job, Elizabeth, to talk about this thing, to stand up for the entrepreneur, to stand up for the startup every single day. So, yes, as much as the government have that, but also another thing that I would like to really, really emphasize is that entrepreneurs, I always say this, that opportunities meet readiness. Opportunity meets readiness. Our young entrepreneurs need to be ready for when opportunity comes. One of the things is that most innovative ideas, most SMEs, most young entrepreneurs, they are so excited about developing an app, without checking whether without without checking whether anyone will buy it, without doing the research, whether do they have the right customer for those apps. And when it doesn't work out, we put the next thing on the government. But no, we need to be ready. We need to make sure that we follow the right processes for the things that we do. If we need to find a solution, let's start with finding out whether there's a clientele for that. Somebody will buy, somebody will buy. Do we have the right team? Yeah, when we talk about collaboration, it is key. But one of the things that I've seen in my experience is that most of us want to feel like, I understand. This is me. We still have that mindset of, if they say that I am the sole owner of this, it works. It doesn't work like that in the investment world. It doesn't work like that in the venture world. It doesn't work like that in the federal. It doesn't work like that with people that give you money. You might have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have the right partner, the right co-founder to work with to make sure this idea is executed, it's not going to work. So we need to also be ready. We need to start pushing on research. We need to learn to read. We can't just jump. Like I said, there is no cheaper way. There is no shortcuts to be successful. We need to follow the processes. Like I mentioned earlier on, internet, Google, everything is at our disposal. We can't be complaining that we do not have internet. We can't be complaining about those that we don't have that we don't have we do have, but we need as young entrepreneurs, learn to put in some effort, learn to put in the work. Passion without hard work comes with nothing, no matter how much you are passionate about. And when when we start pushing this towards our government, they're going to jump in.
Wonderful. Lady B, I think we need another session on the ease of doing business as a youth in Africa. Yes.
That could probably be our sixth.
Right on spot.
Yes.
That could be our sixth roundtable discussion.
Yes.
Yes, it's very important. As
yes,
the keynote speaker said, collaboration is something that's missing with the youths. They're not collaborating. They're not working together. That's missing. That is a missing thing. And like someone in the chat said, that the system is designed to create employees, not entrepreneurs. So this is something should start in the junior high school, preparing the mindset of the youth to be entrepreneurs. Financial literacy should start in the junior high school, doing the books, accounting, how to write a business plan, how to do your research, how to do your target market. All of these things need to start embedded in the youth's mind, right? From junior high school, the internet does not sleep. 24 hours, if you set up an internet business, you could live wherever you want in the world because the internet is 24/7. You could be sleeping and it could be making you money, but the youths are thinking that you have a phone and it's for chatting. No. It's a money-making machine.
Wonderful, and you are still live at the 5th edition of the African Youth and Sustainable Development Roundtable. It's been a wonderful discussions, and one of the things that we as Africans, we have to accept is the fact that while we talk about building back better, after COVID-19, we must not also ignore the challenges and the bottlenecks that exist within our various systems in Africa. So it all boils down to policy. Until we have the right policies that will enable the environment for the right minds to challenge the boundaries of their own creativity, we will still be talking about development in a vacuum, which will not happen.
And we need to stop talking. We need to start doing. We've talked enough.
Thank you.
Enough. Now it's time for doing.
I was amazed in 2019 when I read about intra-African trade at 13%. But then trade between Africa and Europe, 60%. So how do we grow? So that's food for thought. That's why we're saying we need a whole session where we'll talk about the ease of doing business in Africa and startups. But for now, let's dive into
even
our
that
last
transportation issue with traveling.
Wonderful.
It's very, very bad within the continent to go from one country to the next.
Wonderful. So let's move to our last questions. Each our panelists will have just 2 minutes to chime in, and then we will wrap up on this.
Definitely time. So go ahead, Franco. Ask the last question, and I'll do the closing remarks.
One of the criticisms about the SDGs, they say the goals, they ignore the underlying inequalities in the international system. The goals assume that because drinking water is a problem is in a village in Makeni in Sierra Leone, the same problem exists in New York, which is not true. Yes. So if we look at what the pandemic has done, the pandemic has widened the gap and left huge inequalities. And it is even greater in rural communities, where the communities were struggling to put food on the table. The pandemic has come to slow down and wipe out that progress. The engineer who worked in Freetown can work from home, but the woman who is in a village in Kumbu in Cameroon can no longer go to wipe the hotel, to clean the hotel, because the hotel, people don't come there and the hotel no longer need their services. So what is it, do you think, that as we try to build back better, what are some of the key things that we must look at in the rural community, especially for the rural woman? Because we often say human rights are women's rights. If we ignore women's rights when we talk about building back better, then we are talking about no progress. So I must start with you, Elizabeth. What do you think could be some of what can we do at the rural level? You know, what can we do at the rural level, especially for the rural women and girls to enable them bounce back from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you, Franco. I particularly like the beginning of your statement. You mentioned how it is assumed that because this is a challenge in one community, it is the same in another. And that would be the core of my submission on this particular question. Truth of the case. Important that we engage. It is very important that we engage the people for whom solutions are designed. Young women in somewhere in the northern region of Ghana may not at this point in time be very concerned about internet connectivity. And so when you say, because internet is a big deal, this is just an example. When you get up and we are saying, because internet is important for progress and all that, we have to provide that person an access to internet. You may have provided solution to a challenge there, but you would not have helped that woman or that person. What is my point? It is important that solution drivers and beneficiaries of the solution to know what are priority areas, and that has been missing in our efforts to bring or bridge the gap between our rural communities and our urban cities. We have assumed for the longest time that because we are all living in one country, we have the same problem. Let me use Ghana, my country, as an example. The challenges we face in Accra, when you move upwards or go towards the hinterlands and rural areas, you'll find similar challenges, but to a higher degree of intensities. And so that would preclude that you need to engage with the people to say, we have the resources, we have the know-how. What areas do you need help with so that we can provide assistance to help you develop economically? Those are the kind of conversations and engagements that need to drive our support to rural communities. We often assume that because they are rural communities and may not speak English or whatever official language of the country is properly, they do not have intelligence or do not know how to manage themselves. They do. And so my submission, we need to be able to connect. Again, it comes back to points made by some, it comes back to points made by everybody. Partnerships, connecting, bringing it down to the grassroots, understanding the system. That is the work we really need to do. Then we can connect the correct and prioritized problem with the right resource that we have to help them, rather than just doing anything because that is what is a challenge there and that is what you think they need. That would be a way to help bridge that gap between the rural communities.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. The DJ Laverse, what do you think could be done at the local community, you know, if we are to build back better from COVID-19, especially when we talk to, when it comes to, you know, the rural women and girls? Let's go.
Thank you very much. And I want to say a big thank you to Elizabeth, because she has mentioned most of the things I wanted to see. But just to continue to emphasize on some of the points she made, I think what we need to do, first of all, is always engage affected communities, because that's the main reason. I can make also a typical example for here in Sierra Leone. When we have the civil war here, we have so many non-governmental organizations that came in to help displaced people, people affected by the war. But what they failed to do is give the people what they need. Like, for example, there are some parts of the country where people were affected. An NGO will just say, okay, we're going to this part and we're going to supply buckets, tarpaulins, and all these things. Whilst those are not the needs of those people at that particular area. What they needed was the cornmeal, food, you know, all these things. And that is the problem, because they want to make decisions for the people. Like, I agree totally at 100% with Elizabeth. We need to engage with the people, find out what their needs are, and then we try to address it. But if we keep assuming from our own perspective that, okay, these rural communities, they don't have good roads, let's just go and make roads for them. But that's not their major problem. Maybe their major problem is getting water. So if you want to prioritize what are the needs, that they will tell you, no, before making the roads, come and dig us some boreholes that we can get water. So I think the only solution to solving the problems of rural communities is to, first of all, engage with them, know their problems, because problems do differ from different communities. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, 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 DJ Laverse. It's and I think that's one of the reasons why you can explain 60 years after independence, we have a cartel of NGOs pouring billions and billions of dollars into Africa. But why are we getting poorer and poorer?
There's no results. It's like the NGO is doing worse than good.
Thank you, because there's a lack of engagement. We need to now look at the local women, the local people in the rural communities as major stakeholders. So, Mr. Kareem, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, so Mr. Kareem, what do you think in your perspective, what could be done at the rural level to the women in the villages? What could be done to them if we are to build back better from this pandemic?
I agree with my two colleagues who went before me. You first need to find out what the problem is. Whether it be a needs-based assessment is done.
Wonderful.
Let's say, for example, if an NGO comes into a community and offers to give everyone shoes, right? When in reality, they didn't need shoes. They needed something to eat. You know, they needed water. They needed these types of things. So I would like to think that a needs-based assessment first before any building is done would help avoid wastage of resources, whether it be funds on the NGO's behalf, on their part. So I think it's communication. It all boils down to communication and taking a tour. Let the elders in the village give the NGOs a tour because they know what's happening. Yeah, so it wouldn't be a giant guessing game of, okay, maybe we just give them all these things and all will be well. Yeah, and you can't. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Kareem. Mr. Sam, you have the last
Sam
word.
has his electricity is out in Zimbabwe, so Sam is no longer with us.
Well, okay. So thank you. No problem. And with this, I think this is Lady B. This has been a wonderful discussion with electric bullets from Freetown to Accra to Johannesburg to Harare. This has been wonderful. This has been wonderful.
To Trinidad and Tobago.
To Trinidad and Tobago for the first time. This has been wonderful. I really want to appreciate all of our panelists. You guys have made $1 million impact on this forum, and we are so happy that at least we have this forum where people can at least hear us and take this message further.
These are superstars. These are our leaders.
Exactly. I think it's by the work of God that this was an approved UN ECOSOC Partnership Forum side event. And we hope that we can get more opportunities like this, Lady B.
Yes, I really do hope that the opportunity keeps coming. And congratulations to Bright Light Project for being an accredited United Nations Foundation for all the hard work. So I'm definitely riding on the tollgates of Bright Light Projects. No shame in my game.
Lady B, it can never be. It can never be a Bright Light Projects thing. No, this is a shared vision. It's a shared responsibility, and it's a shared impact that we must all put hands together and rise up and say, no, we are Africans. We deny to carry what you've given us so far. We are paving a new way. We will move forward. Our youth will rise, and Africa will shine again like they've never done before. And one last word just to conclude. Mr. Ayaba, please conclude one word.
Thank you so very much, everyone, to my fellow panelists, to the organizers, Franco, Lady B. I really appreciate it. I haven't been, this is my first speaking event of the year. You can imagine what will go down the rest of the year. I'm so proud of the panelists. Elizabeth, wow, you blew my mind out there. But thank you so very much for being the only woman. Thank you for being the only woman joining this. But I'm not saying, I'm not counting our Lady B, an organizer, but at least you see that men were dominating, and you told us that now there is always a space for a lady, and you just proved that. So thank you so very much, to everyone. To all the listeners, those who joined us tonight, it's been an amazing day, an amazing evening from Johannesburg. To all my families and friends, thank you for all the support, and let's do this. Franco, let's do this, and let's make Africa
proud. Let's do this.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you, Ayaba. Thank you, Ayaba. Thank you. Elizabeth, let's hear from you, please.
I would say that if you're doing anything for me without me, then you are against me. So if it is for me, then let's do it together. Don't do it for me without me.
You said it.
Wow. This is really Kareem, let's hear from you.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm grateful, and I do wish that I could continue communicating with persons from the diaspora. Yeah, I believe in that oneness, and thank you for having me, and God bless everyone.
Wow, wonderful. DJ Laverse.
Yes, I want to thank everyone, and it's always a pleasure being here. And definitely, you guys know at any hour, anytime you call on me, I'm always ready to give my support and give my contribution. I'm looking forward to more sessions, more roundtable to be able to contribute and help our youth in Africa.
Wow. Always a pleasure, DJ Laverse. Always a pleasure. May God continue to bless your effort with your Youth and Voice program. all the way on FM Democracy 98.1. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Lady B.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. It's just a pleasure. I'm very, very happy to have everyone here. The outcome of these roundtable discussions is that we will be engaging the embassies. We will be using the African missions here in the US. We will talk to the African Union with position paper, because the need of the youth is to be heard. As Elizabeth said, if you're doing something for me, without me, you are against me. And that is absolutely true. So that is the purpose and the mission of what we are doing, using your voice, bringing you, giving you a seat at the table, making you the cornerstone for the economical transformation of the continent. I'm Lady B. Bless, and I am the Executive Director of the Lady B. Bless Humanitarian Foundation. Thank you so very much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Lady B. Thank you so much, our wonderful panelists. If we are talking about building back better, if we are talking about moving forward with the 2030 agenda, if we are talking about moving forward after COVID-19, then every effort should be equitable. We should think beyond the idea that we must always lend our hands to receive. We must also be able to create. And that's why one of the take home from this session today was what our keynote speaker said: shifting from seeking conventional education to marketable opportunities. And that can only happen if we believe in the power of the youth. Africa's youth could be an asset or a liability. It just depends on how we use them. This was live at the Fit African Youths and Sustainable Development Roundtable. We tune in next time for another edition. Thank you so much, all the way from Johannesburg, from Accra, from Freetown, from Trinidad and Tobago, from Harare, from Kinshasa, from Yaoundé, and from Lagos, from everywhere. May God bless Africa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
You're still live, Franco.